Welcome to Keefer's Corner. Nick Pack, Jeremy Nygaard, Coach Keefer. Coach, how are we doing tonight?
Doing great.
Coming off a game full of records, right? So we go to Somerset, 70-42. So to put that into some context, no team in the state of Wisconsin besides us scored more than 63 last week. Combined, the second highest scoring game. So we had 112 total. The second highest, do you want to guess what it was for the state last week?
90?
82.
82.
So we scored more points combined than any other team by 30.
It's crazy.
Taden broke single game rushing record, broke the single game rushing touchdown record. Our team has had more rushing yards than any other team in our school's history, and more total yards as well. I mean, even Gavin had 160 some, I think it was. But we wrote a lot of record books. What stands out for you in a game where we scored 10 touchdowns? What stands out on the offensive side of the ball?
You know, I don't think that's likely to ever happen again because of the type of game it was. I mean, it was a game where we started fast, but then Somerset jumped right back into that thing and made it a very competitive game. I believe we were up 36 to 8. Then the next thing you know, it was 36 to 22. And then it was kind of back and forth, and never really felt very comfortable in that game because they were, very good offensively. We were struggling a little bit there on D, but I did not feel great until maybe we had that last possession where we burned a lot of clock and we were able to punch it in late. But I'll tell you what, I do think Somerset is a really good team. Even though I know they're 0-2 in the league, I expect that team to be a playoff team. They have a tough road. I understand there are other good teams they're going to play, but I think that team is good. So, I mean, there was a lot of unique things that go into that, all those points. Give our kids credit because our kids freaking played great. And that's, our O-line was very, very, very good. Our receivers' downfield blocking was very, very good. We took care of the ball for the most part very well. You got to have all those things working. And I'm telling you, the difference between scoring touchdowns or, getting stopped is razor thin. You have to have everybody doing their part. And we were very fortunate that we've had kids doing that. I don't think we have any illusion that, hey, this is just the way it's always going to be. We have a very tough opponent coming up in Ellsworth, very physical bunch. So, I was pleased with the offense, obviously. It's been a nice run. But, it was a unique game that led to those totals, I would say.
And so you talk about maybe difficult, but, it's got to be fun calling offensive plays when it seems like you could call almost anything, and it clicked. And that's unique as opposed to struggling this didn't work, and trying to scramble. If you had your way, obviously win's a win, but would you rather win a 14-10, or would you rather win a 50-40 game? I mean, it's tough. I mean, it's fun calling those offensive plays, but it's also frustrating when you see the defense get up points.
Yeah. No, it wins a win without a doubt. There's no doubt about that. I will say with absolute certainty, it's okay for us not to give up 42 points. That I did not enjoy. There was a little torture that went on without a doubt, and that's obviously goes far beyond me. I know we have a lot of people that take a lot of pride in our defense and do a good job, and it was a tough pill to swallow for sure.
Okay, so I got to ask this question because we talked last week about being very successful running our 2-point conversion.
Mm-hmm.
We scored 10 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
We've been running at an 80% clip on that, and now we go 50%. Mm-hmm. You get away from this unconventional package that we run.
Yeah.
Why are we going away from something that's been so successful?
Well, we have a couple indicators that we're looking at. It's whenever we call our package that we're gonna go with that. There is a possibility, and I do give kids some latitude. If it appears that our opponent isn't prepared, then they have the ability to run a regular play, and we did that there were a couple times, and then there were a couple other times that I just said, hey, we're just going to run a play, and not run our we're calling it spice.
Right.
So,
because the first time that wasn't successful was after Taden's 90-yard run, and he came out because he was gassed.
yes, he was.
And then it doesn't work.
Yep.
And then I don't know if we went back to it.
I can't remember.
I feel like we didn't. And I'm like,
It could be.
what are we doing? Because we left.
Mhm.
How many points on the board then?
We had enough.
10 points on the board.
Yeah.
And those
Is that right? We had 5.
we had 5 for 10.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's how we got 70. 60 on the touchdown.
Okay.
5 for 10 on the conversions. I would take the over on being 50% on 2-point conversions. Because someone said 70 is a lot. I'm like, yeah, well, in my opinion, we should have had 76.
Well,
Anyway, about those points, you got to ask you another question.
Mm-hmm.
I'll hand it back over to Nick. After the game, I was reading the Hudson paper, and the way that they described our 70-point outburst was by, quote, milking every last point out of the game. How do you respond to the lead being that we ran up the score on Somerset?
I felt like we were running as much clock as we possibly could. That never ever even crossed my mind. Like that we're running up the score. I felt like it was a very competitive game. I felt like they were scoring quickly. I have been at a game where a handful of years ago, I was watching a buddy at St. Paul Central. They were losing by 13 points with 9 seconds left, and they won the game. Made an impression on me. It was a 3-score game, when we got that last drive. And I don't know how long that drive was, but it was a pretty long drive. I think we went the length of the field. We were running clock as much as we possibly could. So that never really even entered my mind, like, oh, hey, we shouldn't score. It was a very competitive game. It never hit running clock. It's not like we're throwing it. It's not like we're trying to show people up. It was a competitive game, and I don't think, like I talked with Coach Hutter, and I felt, after the game, I did say, hey, we didn't have our kickers. That's why we're going for 2, and just so you know. And he was like, I didn't get the sense that he, we took it that way at all. So I think if you were at the game, I think it would be pretty obvious that we weren't like running up the score. But hey, people have opinions. That's fine.
So I guess I would say maybe one more record then might have been broke on Friday night for the last 3 years. The last possession was probably the longest time possession Baldwin's had in those 3 years. I guarantee that.
Yeah.
We'll have to look that up because
we were trying to run it down for sure.
It was every snap. I saw the back judge, starts to count at 10, I believe.
Yeah.
And then, or puts his hand up at 10.
Hand at 10, and then
counts at 5. And it was to count every time. And
yeah,
we did appreciate that because there's a lot of action going on that game. So it kind of gave us a little break. But now looking ahead, this week we go to Ellsworth, correct? From what I've heard, I talked to Central coach Ellsworth. No surprise here. Big up front. Offensive line, defensive line can get after you.
Absolutely.
So what's the mindset going into an Ellsworth where it's going to be a pound,
it's going to be
a physical game?
It will be a very, very physical game. They're very good up front. They're both offensive lines and defensive lines are very impressive. There's Braden Anderson and 22 running back and linebacker, very good player, very good. There's Comer, number 56, might be the best lineman in the conference. He's very, very impressive. They're very good on their outside linebackers. Their edges are good. They're good at inside linebacker. Their D line's good. I mean, they're good all over. They're secondary. They're good, good athletic kids. This will absolutely be a very, very good team, and it will be a very physical game. We are fully expecting a physical battle with these people, and they're very well coached, and it's going to be tough. There's no doubt about it. They're one of the teams that I thought would be, right in it, and they will be right down the end.
So what do they do offensively compared to what we've seen thus far?
They were probably a little bit more of a traditional, like an I pro. They love running ISO. Okay, they'll isolate the linebacker and put the fullback on him, and you got to smash that thing, or if you don't trigger on it, they'll run it right down your throat. They're running some power. They got a really nice throw game. They have good rhythm. They have really good rhythm. Their quarterback, number 7, I just spaced his name, but he's a very decisive kid. makes good decisions with the ball. They have a big receiver core. Big role. He's a big target, and they have other kids that are really good. 14's a really nice receiver for them. 88's another big target. 5's a big target. This is a really good football team. They lost a nail biter to La Crosse Logan in the opener. La Crosse Logan's a significantly bigger school, so they've been impressive. They're definitely a very good team.
So back to our offense, how quickly we like to go. Are there times, I'm not obviously not giving away your game plan like that maybe you take an extra couple seconds because you maybe want a little bit of a break? If maybe you're going against a more physical team, like, hey, we're not trying to get, I don't know how many no plays you run in the game, but like, is there a time when you like slow down a couple seconds here or there, maybe a few more of the motions and not snap it and then come back to play, or is that reading too much into that?
Oh, we have different tempos that we use, right? Like we have one series that we do. Well, it is like you're going absolutely as fast as you can. Like our goal would be for our opponent never to be able to substitute when we're running at that pace. But obviously you can't do that pace all the time. So we kind of pick our spots when we do that. And because, our kids, like, in Division 4 football, a lot of kids are two-way players. But we try to train, weekly. Our team sessions they're not relaxing. We're going, like we strive to get 40 plays in and, 20, less than 25 minutes. And so you got to go fast. So they're used to going fast. We feel like, we're probably in better football shape in that regard than maybe our opponents are, like if you don't do that. So, yeah, I mean, we have different paces, and you do sometimes, like obviously, Tatum has a crazy long run. It's probably not great to give him the ball the next play, because he's got to be gassed, So you might take a little bit of time or things like that. But, yeah, we have some different tempos, and you do kind of read your kids, too, and you kind of go with what's working, too. Like sometimes it works to speed it up. Sometimes the changes are good, and sometimes they're not. But, you just got to see what's going on.
So after Somerset turned the ball over on the 10-yard line, I'm a firm believer, and you've seen this because I used to stand next to you and try to give you ideas of what to run, and you would just kind of brush me off, which is fine. But when teams have a letdown like that,
mm-hmm.
to kind of go for the throat,
mm-hmm.
right? And so I'm always the big proponent of let's go deep.
Yeah.
And so it's the 10. I'm like, you see guys' heads down, their shoulders are slumped. Now's the time to go for it. To which Nick responds, or just hand it to Tatum and watch him go 90. So that's a pretty good call to make because seeing a 90-yard touchdown run, that doesn't happen all the time.
It sure doesn't.
And then, having the foresight to say it.
That's Nostradamus.
That was pretty impressive. I also said that I thought the game would be played in the 40s or the 30s and the 20s, and I wasn't even close. It was played at that.
Well, you would have never found anybody that would have said 70s and 40s.
So would you have thought 30s and 20s? Like winners going to be in the 30s, losers going to be in the 20s?
I honestly, I never really thought that at all. I didn't. I don't go in thinking, hey, we're going to score this many points against this opponent. You just want to just get the feel for the game and win the game. Really don't go in with like a expectation. Like we have a team, thing. You score 30 points is one of our goals, but that's not at the forefront of my mind.
Okay. All right, I'm going to ask you another question. You're not going to love this. I believe, and I was not active on Twitter today, but I think rankings come out on Tuesdays. And I'm fairly certain, at least in the rankings that I had someone send to me,
okay,
Baldwin-Woodville's still not listed. I know that you don't care.
I don't.
I know. I know that.
Yeah.
But players read that stuff. Players see that stuff. Do you use that as motivation? Do you use that as don't worry about it, we let the game talk? Like how do you, because obviously we know you don't care. But you know that they care, and it's something that they talk about. How do you address that sort of thing with your group of guys, or do you not?
I usually don't. Talk about it. Because here's the thing, right? It really doesn't change anything. It's something that people can talk about and you can feel good about it, but I'm okay with it because you got maybe a chip on your shoulder and you got something that you need to prove, So, we'll care about the rankings, at the end of the season. That'd be fine, right? But the stuff right now means nothing. It really doesn't. And, should a team, that, we've given up a lot of points, so, that's a important part of the game. We've been a little Jekyll and Hyde with the defense, so we're hoping that we can get it back here. Feel pretty good about that, but, I just think, like if you make the ratings a big deal, well, when you are rated, does that mean that the kids think they've arrived?
That's the question, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't really spend a lot of time thinking about that or talking to them about that.
I think it's a lot harder at the high school level too. I mean, you look at, how well does someone know every school in Wisconsin? It's tough.
You don't.
And you go back to last year, we kind of get thumped by St. Croix Central late in the season,
right?
And then we turn around, go there, and they blink and they're down 3 scores.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, being the underdog, if you will, maybe it is some motivation for the kids, and coaches don't care. That's what he says. So back to the speed of the game. I want to know, so if you lined up every player at the 40-yard line, who wins? Who's the first to the goal line?
Ooh.
Every player, all 40.
If we're wearing football pads,
Yes.
Gavin Sell.
Okay, without pads.
Yeah, it's probably still Gavin Sell.
Okay, if we line up the coaches at the 40-yard line, who's the first there? And I don't have to name them, but how many do you finish in front of? Grant, we have 35
This
coaches.
is a good question.
Who finishes first?
Who'd be first? I'm trying to think. I'm going to go with, I think at this point, I think maybe Zach Paul would be first. He's still, I think, in fairly good shape. He's always been fast. So I want to say Zach Paul's first. Who's last?
I think last.
Good.
How many do you finish in front of? You don't have to name them.
I think I'd probably go middle of the pack. I think I could probably get out of the bottom 5, I would say.
Well, how many guys are running into this?
Well, if we got all of them, we got 13. So I got a chance.
Where does Lehman finish? He's got
Lehman's ahead of me. I can't. He's young.
Is he second behind Zip?
Yeah, I thought about him, but I thought Zip would beat him in a race. But Lehman's in good shape, so I don't know.
I mean, it's 40 yards. You have to be in exceptional shape.
Well, right, but you can't blow a hammy, Right. So, good question. Thought-provoking.
Is there going to be a time where this can be settled?
I'd have to get awfully warmed up, man. I don't know.
Okay, I got one more general racing question for you.
Okay.
If Gavin Sell started at the 40,
yeah,
and Jason Sell started at the 39, how many times could Gavin run around Jason before Jason got to the goal line?
That's a good question there. At least twice.
It's got to be more like 5 or 6.
I don't know.
Gavin's very subtle. I mean, it would be.
I know Graydon Monica's going to be ticked at me because, going back to the not wearing pads, Graydon might nip Gavin.
Okay.
You got to give him his due. He's a fast kid, and Dane Viendal's pretty dang fast too. I don't know, man. It would be close, but I really do believe with pads on, Gavin is the fastest.
And I'm not editing this out at all. So no matter what happened, that's just something you're going to have to live with.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because they're going to want to race now.
Yeah, they can do that. That's good.
Because Ben Johnson's
fast too. He's really fast.
Pre-ankle injury.
Yeah,
I feel like he was a fast guy on your team when he was a sophomore.
He's still fast, yeah. He is.
It helps to have speed.
It does. It really does.
Okay, speaking of speed, how fast is our JV? How did our JV do and our C squad do on Monday night?
It was not JV lost 20-2, and we really struggled offensively. We had a couple issues snapping the ball, which kind of put us in a hole. And we just, the difference between being successful and not successful can easily be, one or two guys that, maybe aren't quite sure what they're doing, or, they haven't got enough reps at the technique. So that was I thought our JV defense played fantastic because the offense really struggled. We had a couple issues kind of getting some things going, and, that's just the way it went. But I thought the defense was great. The freshmen had a close game with Somerset. They also lost 28-20. They had opportunities. But the JV game, we started out extremely slow. We stopped. Somerset took the ball. We stopped them, forced a punt, and we got too close to the punt. Ball's bouncing, and the Somerset kid heads up, shoves our kid into the ball. We touch it. Turnover. Okay, so the defense is backed up, and I think we gave a short field score there. Then our next offensive play, we literally fumbled the exchange. They got it again. And then our third possession, we fumbled on the third play. So it's like we took 3 possessions in that JV game and we got absolutely nothing. And we never really got. We had a couple drives where we did sustain it. We had some opportunity. I think we had one. I think I turned away inside the 5 one time. We got down in there, but just weren't. I mean, it was still a game. It was still very close. We did get a safety. I mentioned that it was 20-2. But you had a lot of kids that are gaining experience. There was the defense I thought was really, really impressive. I really liked Travis Kuhn, Jake Johansson at linebacker. Both those kids are really tough kids, and they played really, really well. I thought our D-line did some good things. We gave up a couple big plays in the throw game. Where, they have a kid that can run faster than our kids, and we just, we're playing everybody, and that's just the way it goes. But that's what the lower level football is for. I mean, you learn, you get better, and, nobody cares really, what that freshman record was. I think, Cal and last year's group, I think they won 1 or 2 games when they were freshmen, which is very surprising because they were a super talented group. But, so they'll get better.
I think you always say in football you can call holding on every play. We had one on a kick return. We had one on a 2-point conversion. But as a coaching staff and as a head coach, you got to be very, very pleased. We talked about a bad snap. No bad snaps. The pre-snap penalties. We might have had one offsides, which was kind of almost rare for our defense to get offsides. Mm-hmm. But you talk about pre-snap penalties, the mental stuff like that, and the holdings are going to happen. Again, that's they say call every play, and sometimes when you're ahead you get more penalties, but you must be satisfied with the lack of mental penalties, we call them, the false starts. Yeah. And I think maybe in years past it's, our receivers got good head starts. Maybe it helps having Gavin be the quarterback because he was one of the ones that got that good start. Right. But talk about that mentality of not putting yourself in a hole. 2nd and 5 is a big difference than 2nd and 12. It is. It's a big deal. And we're not the only ones, but we always talk about trying to focus. What matters. What matters? It matters what's my job, and when I hear the clap, I go. That's what we do on offense, right? There's no excuse for it. We have mistakes that require zero talent. Like for instance, you got to get her signal. Doesn't require any talent whatsoever to look over and get the signal. Okay, it's your responsibility to do that. Doesn't require any talent to get off the ball. You just got to be ready to go. You got to be, So we try to have kids focus on the things that matter. Right? Don't think about the last play. Think about the next play. Think about what's right in front of you. And I guess last week we're on a run where it works. Let's hope that it continues. It's just that's a credit to the kids. I don't think there's anything that we're doing that's revolutionary. I mean, the kids are focused, and that's what it is. It's good.
I'm not going to ask you any more high school football questions. Do you have any thoughts or other feelings about any other football teams or any other just general things that you want to get off your chest?
We'll start with the Badgers obviously was just really disappointing, I thought, performance.
Is Luke Fickle on the hot seat?
He's not in the hot seat yet, but they're starting to light the burners. It's starting to heat up, I suppose, a little bit. You just have to see progress. You have to see, and it doesn't seem like they do have an identity. You really don't know what they're good at on either side of the ball.
The Badgers were hard to watch a few years ago. And then they went from Chris to Leonard,
mm-hmm.
and that was exciting and new.
Mm-hmm.
And then they make, in my opinion, a home run hire,
mm-hmm.
and they're harder to watch than they've ever been to watch before.
Yeah, it's been tough. I mean, it takes time, but the thing that's weird is I think in a college setting, you bring a new coach in, you have to give them time to do their thing. You just do. But it's changed. The landscape's changed with the transfer portal and the NIL, and everybody's coming in and out. And I do think that quicker turnarounds are maybe a little easier to do now, but maybe not. I don't know. But I do know this: you got to give him time. We'll see what's going to happen. I'm a little nervous personally, like with Wisconsin defense. If we're always going to line up with just three defensive linemen. I know they have some bigger defensive end type guys, but when you're facing some downhill run stuff, man, I think that might be a challenging thing. But we'll see. I mean, those guys they know a lot of football, and we'll see. But yeah, that's been disappointing, and it just seems like you don't know what they really want to do offensively. I don't know. It's been strange. So I hope they can, and obviously the loss of Van Dyke is a big deal. I mean, that's terrible. I mean, they're snake bitten. I mean, he's done. Does
Locke, is it his job going forward? Or
I think so.
Go to the true freshman?
No, I think it'll be Locke's job until, I think he's probably has a better understanding of what they're doing. I could see late in the year if it's like it's a bad year, maybe they're going to throw, the freshman in late, maybe. I don't know.
He gets 4 games and still redshirt.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised that he got those 4 games. Well, now he's the backup. I mean, who's to say that he isn't the guy next week? You know what I mean? That could happen. So, yeah, I don't know. But that was very tough, and we'll see. They always say things are never as bad as you think they are, and they're never as good as you think they are. So let's hope that that's true with the Badgers. But, I was really thrilled with the Pack. I thought, the way they ran the ball on Sunday was very encouraging. I don't know anything, but I'm gonna guess that Jordan Love might actually be back this week, and I base that on a thing I read. It was in the NFL over the last 10 years. There have been 15 quarterbacks that have had an MCL injury. 10 of them never missed a week. Now, obviously, there's different severity levels, but I'm basing it on the fact of looking at how he was walking after the game. To me, he was walking without a limp, which makes me think it was, it's probably a first degree and not a second degree. Second degree, you're walking with a limp, and then it's the 4 to 6 weeks.
Who they play this week?
Who do they play this week? They just played the Colts. Now they got
Vikings are week 4, right?
I think they play the Titans, Tennessee.
And then the Vikings?
Yeah.
So do you hold them out? The Titans, if you've watched the Titans, Will Levis is next level bad.
Yeah.
He's making some real bad decisions.
The Packers are conservative with injuries, so I don't know.
So give them
I could see him, maybe trying to get through this week. It might have been different if they would have lost. You don't want to go 0-3. 1-1's a
right.
That might take a little pressure off. But the other thing is if a guy's ready, he's ready.
Right.
So
did you watch enough NFL to realize that there's a huge problem with coaches and how they don't understand how to manage the clock? Like these are some of the best coaches in the world, and they can't.
The Philadelphia,
there was the
Atlanta game
and the Browns. There was 3 games that the one that cost the team was Nick Sirianni.
Yes,
like he's costing his team wins.
I can't believe they put the ball up. You got to hand it off. It's a no-brainer.
The Browns did it.
Yeah,
and there was another team on Sunday that did it as well. So I mean, if when you're done with the high school gig, if you want to go be a clock manager but you know what I would tell you to maybe try to draw them off sides before you call the timeout too.
Hey, I'll tell you the other niche job that you could find a way in the NFL. You should have a ball security specialist, because before Josh Jacobs fumbled, I'm like, he's fumbling. And there he fumbles because when the ball's not high and tight, pressed against, I mean, I just don't understand how they allow that in the NFL. It's such a big deal. I mean, just tuck it away and coach it, and it'll be better. I guarantee it'll be better. So
the job that I want, I don't know what game it was. I saw the picture afterwards. There was a player that wears a big, thick chain with his number, but he doesn't wear it when he's on the field. So when he comes off, he puts it on. He's got a guy to wear the chain on the sideline. I feel like that is it might have been like an injured guy, but that's a job that I could do really, really well. I could just wear the chain and then give it back to him. So that's the one I'm looking for. You could be the ball security guy.
Yeah.
I'll be the chain wearer. What do you want to be?
Anything. I'll take any of those jobs.
You have any more questions for
one last one?
Yeah, okay.
So you mentioned that, like, because I, obviously, fortunately or unfortunately, got Coach Nygaard in my ear the entire game. You have multiple sets of coaches in your ear. How many times do you just want to shut them off? So, for instance, end of the half, we're 4th and 1, and Nygaard's go for it. He's banging on the window.
Wait, that's not true.
You know him. We should go for it. You know, he's going to go for this. I'm like, no. Common sense is, yeah. If it was probably any other time in the game, thought 90% crosses your mind. But at that time in the game, this also plays into it. Like, the safe bet here is punt, pin them deep, don't let them score before half, and get the ball.
Mm-hmm.
But is there time you just want to, or is there even a certain coach you want to say, I just want to shut them up sometimes and like, hey, no, like they're always the go for it. They're always the ones that say throw the ball deep. They're always the ones that say, I mean, Nygaard's NFL team doesn't have a punter. I guarantee that. But
it's a strategy.
But are there times you just almost take the headset off because
I would say I rarely experience that, just because like guys understand. Like sometimes I'll ask for things, and that's good. But if you have constant, that's not helpful. And I have experienced constant things, and we have worked that out, so we don't experience that anymore.
That was after me.
No, not so much. No, you weren't that bad. I've had a couple others where I was like, I mean, but generally our communication's very helpful, very useful, I would say, generally speaking. And if every once in a while I might just say, hey, just stop. Just because you got to think or you got to look at something.
Well, it's different now because you have the iPads that tell you the story. We didn't. I was never on the sideline for that.
Right.
It was, where's that guy coming from? Trying to figure that out. You have the previous play.
We do. That's true. I would say I don't think I even looked at the iPad offensively.
Just dialed in.
But I looked at it defensively a ton. I mean, I was very, that's just the way the game was going. You know what I mean?
You didn't have time because we scored on like.
Well, you can't look at it when you're calling plays.
Right.
That's not even a possibility. But we do have good people on the iPad, and I feel like they do a good job coaching our kids. It's quite a tool.
I actually, if I'm recalling the same play, I believe my thought was, we have to punt here, right? I believe that's what I said. I wasn't calling for not, because we punted, right? We punted in the first half. Yeah, we called a timeout before.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't try to draw them off sides before the timeout, which is what I would have suggested. There's a time and a place for a punt.
Absolutely.
Just very rarely. No, I actually, when I stood next to you, I wasn't calling for pass plays. I was calling for the 22 counter.
You want counter all the time.
All the time. And he very calmly and nicely said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to run the toss. It's not going to work. And then later, we're going to look like we're running the toss. And then we'll run the counter, and it's going to score. And so I swear to God, this happened. Like 3 times I said, is it time for the counter? And he's like, not yet. Is it time for the counter? Not yet. Is it time for the counter now? And he's like, and we scored. Do you remember that one?
Wow.
That was like 2009 or 2000. Yeah. That was fun. But I was the guy that I was just trying to figure things out. Like, what's the reason that we're doing what we're doing? Because for me, I would skip past the setting things up to just get to where I wanted to go, and it wouldn't work. And so I've learned a little bit. but I wasn't always telling them to pass because you know why? They pass very often. So, all right. Anything else?
I'm good.
Anything more to get off your chest?
Nope. Thank you.
Are we golfing on Friday?
I sure hope so. The forecast is good, right? I'll be playing.
Don Timmerman's got some money to give you, so we're gonna, let's go.
Let's hope Donnie sold some more houses.
All righty.
Wait. Let's be clear. Not Don. His kid sold some more houses.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. When I read the ads, it's Andrew and Don. It's not Don and Andrew anymore.
Okay.
Just so we're clear, who's working harder?
I got it. Yeah.
So you got some free advertising out of this deal too.
Oh, there you go.
We will be in Ellsworth on Friday. We'll be broadcasting from the bleachers because it's Ellsworth and that's what we get. So we'll be there Friday for a little middle border action between the Hawks and the Panthers. Hopefully we see you there. If not, you can watch it on Blackhawk TV. Nick Pack, Jeremy Nygaard, thanks, Coach. And we'll see you Friday night. So long.